In every game tick, an action is not just a choice, it's a necessity. Imagine combining the weirdest skills that can be trained together for efficient rates, speeding up the overall time to max all 23 skills. The max cape is my goal. I will achieve this in the shortest gameplay time possible. By choosing to be an Ironman, I restrict myself from trading other players and using the Grand Exchange. I have to get everything myself. Welcome to my max cape speedrun, Ironman edition, where our ultimate goal is to hit 2277 total by 1600 hours played. Just for a quick recap of last episode, where we spent so many hours doing Slayer and Prayer, only to end at level 93, unlocking us our final relevant NPC, Smoke Devils. However, being low on blood runes, we couldn't necessarily continue our Slayer grind because we were too poor to afford more, and the blood runes were needed for barraging or casting thralls. So what exactly was I up to the last couple weeks? You would think I'd reset my cycle and continue to finish off 99 Slayer, but I was actually very busy IRL. I got married, so I had a wedding, and naturally, I was busy the prior week and the week after. So I wanted something simple to do on RuneScape during my free time. Slayer requires a lot of thinking on this run, between watching my prayer XP, my melee XP, and the GP that I'm getting. So naturally, the easiest 99 that I can do that will still take a decent amount of time is woodcutting. For the most part, woodcutting is pretty straightforward. The method is to do 1.5 tick teaks, using my leftover prayer pots for Vile Vigor for run energy. And even though I'm dropping a lot of logs, I still want to bank as many as possible. The log basket in my inventory comes from Forestry update 1.3789. It can hold an extra 28 logs, which isn't much when I'm banking every 30 minutes, but as an Ironman, the extra logs being banked will be appreciated since I can't use the Grand Exchange. A casual 208k an hour at 87 woodcutting, here it is level 88. Same session of course, and yeah, the XP rate did drop a bit due to the banking and RNG. But 192k is still relatively fast for a skill like woodcutting. Here is level 89. 90 woodcutting? 91? And getting close to the end of our day with over 1.6 mil gained, I'm thinking we call it a night and return tomorrow. Good morning everybody. I've tried bringing more prayer potions per trip today, and we're holding over 200k an hour. This is so crazy for woodcutting, I love it. The XP rates already feel unreal for a gatherer skill. However, not long after hitting 93 woodcutting, we learned something epic. June 28th, 2023 was the first day that Forestry was introduced into old school RuneScape. This update was meant to change woodcutting completely from what it used to be. And while causing some controversy, it did do quite exactly that. In this very series, in episode 9, I got to enjoy Forestry on day 1. The XP rates were broken and we got over 400k an hour. It was a blast. However, the next day, it got nerfed. While we were able to get in woodcutting gains on day 1, we were rewarded anima bark from each event we completed. This anima bark has sat in our account quietly for 8 months now, cooking up some use. 6 Forestry updates later, part 2.0 of Forestry was released. This is where we had a game changer, but didn't even know it. The Forestry shop now offered a felling axe handle. This cost 10,000 anime bark and 500 oak logs. Thanks to all the Forestry we did on day 1, we already had the bark. So all I had to do was quickly get 500 oak logs and I could buy it. Using this handle on my dragon axe would make me a proud owner of a dragon 2-handed axe. So first, I tried 2-tick woodcutting the oak trees south of Falador, which I did for early woodcutting XP. However, there was no banks nearby and the run back was just way too far. So instead of 2-ticking the 500 oak logs that I needed, after the second trip, I decided to try 3-ticking at Sears Village, since it was near a bank. So after Forestry was added, all of the trees go down X amount of time after you start chopping it. Think about this from an average player's perspective. You start chopping a tree, you take a poop IRL, and the tree falls down after 2 minutes. Then you re-click a new tree. I can't AFK as a max cape speedrunner, so I started 3-ticking oak trees on stream, and then my genius kick chat has informed me that it's actually possible to trick tree timers like these, such that they will never fall down. Normally, when 3 ticking, you would knife log, click the tree, and then get a log on the 3rd tick. There's usually at least 1 tick of downtime. It doesn't matter whether you click the tree on the 2nd or 1st tick. However, doing this normally, 3 tick woodcutting, the oak tree will fall. In order to make the oak tree never go down, instead of clicking the knife, log, and then the tree, we have to do this very awkward pause where we start the knife log animation and then wait until the 3rd tick to click the tree. Doing this correctly will reset the timer on the oak tree and it will never go down. Because I wasn't a huge fan of the awkward pause every time before clicking the tree, I quickly realized that if I just knife logged, walk 2 tiles, and then click the tree, it's the same concept where I'm not touching the tree until the 3rd tick. So doing this one method on one eternal oak tree for 500 logs ended up working out. So 500 logs later, we grabbed them and made our way to the forestry shop and purchased our felling axe handle. Made my way to an anvil, and there we go. We now have a dragon felling axe. So what actually makes this axe different than a normal dragon axe, and why is it so good? When using any 2-hand axe, you get 10% bonus woodcutting XP on every log. On top of that, there's a 20% chance to not receive logs while chopping, meaning during 1.5 ticking, having to drop 20% less is a lot more convenient. And lastly, the most convenient one, especially for an Ironman like myself, I will now have infinite run energy. And I know what you're thinking, what, infinite run energy? That makes no sense. Why would an axe give infinite run energy? Well, in order for the axe to give any of these bonuses, it has to use charges. Every log you chop uses a forester's ration. Without these rations, the 2-hand axe will behave exactly the same as a normal axe and give no benefits. So what are rations, how do we get them, and is it worth it? From those same events we did on day 1 for anima bark, we also got rewarded with leaves. Leaves come in different tiers from normal trees all the way to magic. When using a certain tiered leaf on a certain tiered cooked fish, we'll be rewarded with X amount of rations. Makes sense, right? As I said earlier, one of these rations is consumed per log, so you could imagine that we need a lot of rations. The reason we get infinite run energy is because every time a ration is consumed, there's a 30% chance to restore 20% of our run energy. So it's time to hopefully make enough rations for 99 woodcutting. I have 1,300 magic leaves in my inventory to start off the grind, along with 800 remaining monkfish from looting Sepulcher. Right now, I get 24 rations per monkfish, which might sound like a lot. However, assuming we get 87 XP per log, we're going to need upwards of 55,000 rations for the last 5.3 mil woodcutting XP. That's a lot of bank standing, but making these should still be worth it given the benefits. 19,000 rations in, we're pretty much out of monkfish. Thankfully though, there are shops that sell food. Taking into consideration the tiers of food, the easiest we can buy would be in tier 2, and it would be at a shop in West Ardoin that sells cooked meat. If you're wondering why I didn't multi-skill or run around training literally any skill while AFKing this, it's because for some reason in the code, you can't. Walking interrupts your action, and the only way to make rations is if you're standing still. So this shop sells 10 meats per world, so I just hopped to 2 different worlds for 20 meats and then AFK some rations. The cooking XP tracker on the top left has been on since the beginning. It's obviously low and inefficient, but to be honest, it's not as bad as you'd expect it to be, all things considered. I also grabbed my 1,192 U leaves for once I'm out of the magic, which will only give me 20 rations per meat. However, based off my calculations, this is still worth doing.
1 hour later.
And finally, coming up to 55k, just enough rations for 99, an unexpected but welcome total of 126k cooking XP gained, we have finally finished preparing Forestry for woodcutting. The 10% XP buff and infinite run energy is looking good. 45 minutes in and we're just casually getting 230k an hour. 94 woodcutting, check. Even if I technically need the teak logs for 99 woodcutting, it's just so inconvenient and unfun to go out of my way to bank the logs when I have infinite run energy. So I'll probably just not think about the missing logs for 99 construction, and to be honest, we could just get them passively through Kingdom. We spend 75k GP per day in Kingdom, and we get about 300 teak logs sent to our bank, which is about 37k construction XP per day. Assuming we're on pace to finish around May, we should be able to comfortably get enough logs from Kingdom to finish off 99 construction without having to bank any more chopped logs. So I'm just gonna permanently stay here, turn off my brain, and enjoy the fast woodcutting XP. One thing I realized that I forgot to tell you guys, earlier when I mentioned Forestry changing how every tree in the game works to have static timers based off when you start chopping the tree, the only exception to that rule is specifically farming plots such as the teak trees I'm woodcutting right now. 1.5 tick woodcutting is usually seen as a harder level of tick manip, and if people were allowed to just permanently chop the same two trees, or predict when they'd fall down, this method would be significantly easier and faster. So these guys still drop randomly. The boys made it to the party, and here is our next 99. Woodcutting is now done. As mentioned in the beginning of the video, I didn't want to do much planning or thinking over the last couple weeks, and the simplicity of 99 woodcutting, even though we had a little detour of forestry, was pretty straightforward. However, if you do remember, I did stop Slayer at 93 last episode due to being low on blood runes, so now it's time to get more. I only had 8 mil cash, but I do need broad arrowheads in order to runecraft. So the cycle of poor skill or Ironman mode begins. We just slayed for GP, and now we're using that GP to buy broads to runecraft, and then we'll runecraft our blood runes to do more Slayer, and then I don't know, maybe at some point we'll max with enough coins to still afford the max cape. Roughly 140,000 broads and 2,000 gold pieces remaining, let's get to work. That 8 million cash stack we just spent, that we earned ourselves, is only 1.4 mil Fletching XP. We have so many more 1.4 mil Fletching XPs to go. To be honest, the cost of maxing is not looking good now. At the very least, I'm starting to really appreciate the pure essence drops from Slayer. Not only do I not have to mine the day ult, but 50% more time here allows me more time to fletch, and more importantly, gives me more runes to sell for GP. I didn't notice it because it was so fast, where I just got 92 fletching, followed by 93. I ran out of broad arrowheads a little bit ago, but I want to keep runecrafting to get slightly more blood runes so I can do Slayer longer before having to return here. I did do some calculations, and we do have wiggle room to do about an hour of runecrafting without fletching, but still get 99 fletching before runecrafting. I just got 96 runecrafting, but being the amazing content creator I am, I somehow was not recording. And lastly, when I could during the last few weeks, I did spend some time in the login screen, occasionally logging in to do a farm run. I have a lot of seeds to use from Slayer, and while I'm not necessarily in a rush to use them, I figured if I'm not going to be playing, it can't hurt to do a few runs here and there whenever I have time. Having roughly 8,000 blood runes now, I'm excited but nervous to jump back into the Slayer grind. I have no idea where my GP will land in terms of maxing, because I still need another 36 mil cash just for fletching alone. And trust me, when you add in the cost of construction, herblore, cooking, or even smithing, it legit looks like we won't be able to max. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and as always, TY for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And of course, if you ever want to watch any of this stuff live, feel free to check me out on kick.com/jcwrs. We have been dropping some pretty big streams since we returned. Take care everybody, and peace out.